is a moment many people experience long before they ever have language for it. Nothing dramatic happens, no crisis, no diagnosis, no obvious failure. Life is technically functioning, but something feels off. You wake up tired even after sleeping. You feel tense without knowing why. Your patience is shorter. Your focus slips. Your body feels heavier than it used to, and when you try to explain it, the words don't quite work. So you dismiss it. You tell yourself you're just stressed, or tired, or busy. You're getting older, but underneath those explanations is something more precise, a signal, not a thought, not a belief, not fear. A signal. This channel exists because most people are taught to override those signals instead of understanding them. We've been trained to ask, "What's wrong with me?" before asking, "What is my body responding to?" And that single reversal changes everything. This video brings together the core ideas behind the first videos on this channel, not as a recap, but as a map. Because when you zoom out, a pattern becomes clear. And once you see that pattern, it becomes very difficult to unsee it. One of the most damaging misconceptions in modern health culture is the belief that stress lives only in the mind. Stress is treated as something abstract, something emotional, something psychological. But the body doesn't experience stress as an idea. It experiences stress as load. Load on circulation, load on hormones, load on energy systems, load on recovery capacity. When stress enters the system, the body reallocates resources. Blood flow shifts, glucose availability changes, inflammatory signaling increases, repair mechanisms get postponed. Not because the body is malfunctioning, but because it's prioritizing survival, and survival always outranks comfort. This is why chronic stress doesn't feel dramatic at first. It feels subtle, diffuse, easy to ignore, until it isn't. Many people today are walking around with normal lab results and abnormal lived experience. They're told they're healthy, but they don't feel well. That disconnect creates confusion, and confusion quickly becomes self-doubt. What's wrong with me? Why can't I handle what everyone else seems to manage? Why am I exhausted when nothing is technically wrong? But the body doesn't speak in complaints. It speaks in trade-offs. Energy diverted to vigilance. Is energy taken away from repair, constant stimulation, forces constant readiness. And readiness is expensive. Stress doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It accumulates. One of the quiet burdens people carry is the belief that exhaustion is a moral failure. If you're tired, you must not be disciplined enough. If you're overwhelmed, you must be doing something wrong. But energy isn't a character trait. It's a biological resource. And like any resource, it can be depleted. Your nervous system doesn't evaluate your intentions. It evaluates demand. It doesn't care how motivated you are. It doesn't care how important the task feels to your identity. It cares about load recovery and repetition. When demand exceeds recovery long enough, the system adapts. Not by breaking, but by changing its baseline. And once that baseline shifts, people mistake adaptation for dysfunction. But it's not dysfunction, it's compensation. This is why rest alone doesn't always restore people, because collapse is not the same as recovery. Recovery requires safety. And safety is a nervous system state and not a calendar event. Before the mind creates explanations, the body already knows. This isn't mystical, it's biological. Every system in the body is constantly sampling information: temperature, threat, stability, predictability. Long before language forms, the nervous system is already adjusting. That early sensing is often dismissed because it doesn't arrive as logic. It arrives as discomfort, as unease, as restlessness, as a quiet sense that something isn't aligned. Some people call this intuition, others call it instinct, others call it spirit. Labels don't matter. What matters is this: By the time the mind asks for proof, the body has often been compensating for a long time. We've been conditioned to distrust what we can't immediately explain, but early signals are vague by design. They're meant to prompt awareness, not panic. When those signals are ignored, they don't disappear. They get louder. Anxiety is one of the most misunderstood signals. In modern life, for many people, anxiety isn't fear. It's alertness without resolution. The nervous system has detected instability, uncertainty, or overload, but there is no clear path for action. So the signal loops. This is why distraction helps temporarily. Scrolling, working, staying busy. Movement gives the nervous system the illusion of resolution. But when things slow down, the signal returns, often stronger. This is also why anxiety spikes. At night, on weekends, or during moments of stillness, because the body finally has space to speak. Suppressing anxiety without understanding it is like silencing a smoke alarm while leaving the fire unattended. The alarm isn't the problem, it's the messenger. Anxiety becomes pathological, not because it exists, but because it's misunderstood. Most people who feel chronically off believe something is wrong with them. But consider the environment: constant stimulation, endless information, no clear boundaries between work and rest, uncertainty treated as normal. Your nervous system evolved for rhythm, stress followed by resolution, effort followed by recovery. What it's experiencing instead is stress followed by more stress. So it adapts, it stays alert, it stays guarded, it stays prepared. Not because it's broken, but because standing down doesn't feel safe. Once you understand this, self-blame begins to soften and clarity becomes possible. Here's where most advice fails. People are told to be more disciplined before they understand what they're responding to. But discipline without awareness becomes punishment. It becomes force. True discipline is responsive. It emerges naturally once you see clearly what drains you, what restores you, what patterns repeat. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what aligns with reality. When awareness returns, discipline stops feeling heavy. It becomes precise. This channel isn't here to convince you that you're broken. It's here to help you listen before signals turn into symptoms. We talk about stress, about anxiety, about nervous systems. But underneath all of it is a deeper question. Are you responding blindly or consciously? Clarity precedes change, and awareness is the first intervention. If you felt that quiet knowing, you weren't imagining it. You were perceiving. This channel exists to help you understand what's really going on.